Happy Thursday, Tianon. We don't have much on today's agenda. It's just a
Yeah.
review needed on your PR that I've already reviewed, so
Yep.
might not be much to chat about.
This will be a short one if it's just the two of us, right?
If it's just the two of us, we've already done the stuff. Yeah,
I
this
made the
might be
change and
quick.
you already approved it.
Yeah. Well, Sajay's here, but he's not on the distribution specs, so we can't pester him for that one. He already took care of his last week. How you doing, Sajay?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing all right. Just telling Tianon this might be a quick meeting because I don't have much on the agenda today.
Summers are fun.
They are. And if you want to add stuff to the agenda, feel free to do so. I just went looking through stuff that needed to be have some kind of discussion on there. Didn't see much for this week, so leaving it for everybody else.
I mean, if there's nothing else, did we make any progress on the tag listing API? That was something that we were very interested in.
The one that Jeff is working on,
Yeah.
the last I saw from that one was we need to start getting some implementations and a conformance test.
Okay, so there's no general pushback on it, right?
I don't think so. I think it was mostly just, hey, you put it out there. Let's actually make sure this works before we move it forward.
Okay. Should we maybe ping Michael Brown from ECR?
Give him a check on that one. Now I'm scrolling through things. I'm seeing another one that needs a review. Which is proxy namespace stuff. Yeah, I'll put this in at least our brief discussion here. Hey there, Derek.
Hello.
We don't have much, so people are just kind of shouting out about different questions, things that might be in limbo states and just wondering where things are. But otherwise, it's going to be a quick meeting. Hey, Ram, how's it going?
Hello, hello.
So, for the tagging of the Zod, are you holding off until you get some other stuff in there? Should I even?
We'll make a decision quick, maybe the end of this week. I don't think there are any burning issues, but these are all really minor patch releases, so we can just take few things and move on.
Yeah. I'm not in a rush. I'm not going to pester you on it. I just kind of keeping it in my back, making sure I'm keeping track of it a little bit so I know when I need to update my PR.
Okay, end of this week. Yeah.
Cool. Well, it's Thursday already. You're promising something by tomorrow. That's quick. I will at least share a screen here for folks. works. Well, I'll at least try share screen. Not that button. That button. There we go. So yeah, on the review list, the tag listing on the tag sort order. So this same one because I already had it open. So updating the conformance test for the tag sort order. This one, Mike in there, Derek, if you want to give this one a look, you're more than welcome to. We're just updating the conformance test so that it verifies that the tags when they're in there are either in alphabetical or ASCII-betic order, which was my new word of the last week. ASCII-betical. The other one that's over on distribution spec here already on there. That's the old registry proxying, so I'm hoping we can get another review on that. And then the last one we were chatting about was the tag listing. Sajay wanted to hear an update on that. And like I was saying, Sajay, I think I put it in here. She was also in there. Yeah, conformance tests and implementations. But I am curious if as we start to flesh this out, if people want to start planning other sort orders, how does the registry communicate that it is responding with the requested sort order? Or if it can't deliver that, how does it let the client know what order that it's giving it in?
I mean, either way, that has to be. Let's see, what am I trying to say? There will be registries that don't implement this at all. And so the client has to handle not knowing either way, right?
So if a registry doesn't implement this at all, it should respond with the original JSON output.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Because the format changes to an index, then it's pretty obvious.
You've got a new content type header.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, and hopefully a media type in that JSON object, or else John's going to come knocking.
But yeah, we've got an
Yeah.
accept header up there that
What-
the client asks for, and then the registry should respond back with the content type.
But what's the media type for the default response right now? There is nothing, right?
I don't think we specify, but everywhere I've looked, it's application JSON.
Well, and as we found with tag sorting order, just because it's in the spec doesn't mean it's actually implemented consistently.
That's why I want to see a conformance test.
Yeah, we got to make those conformance tests stronger and then start bringing them out as a stick instead of a carrot. Wall of shame.
Let's not throw too much shame everyone's out right now. They're doing good work updating things.
Well, I mean, I'm saying wall of shame, and you know Docker Hub's going to be on the wall of shame, so it's a glass house, and I just threw the rock.
Well, is it going to be a wall of shame if they don't implement the upgraded version, and so it just comes back with the original? Or are you saying that Docker Hub doesn't sort their tags today?
Oh no, I mean the conformance tests in general. Because right now it's entirely self-selected, and so only people who are passing the tests as they're currently written have self-selected. And if we update the tests, we don't update who's passed them.
At last check, though, I don't think Docker Hub's even trying because they don't have the refers API when I last looked.
Right, which is exactly what I mean, is that if we changed that situation like I'd like to, and created a wall of shame where we actually run the conformance tests and actually publish the results like Josh's original prototypes, I wasn't privy to the conversations that caused that prototype to become opt-in instead, but I'd be thrilled to see Docker Hub on that list. I think the visibility would be useful and good for the community at large, especially if our conformance tests were testing everything we can think of, like tag list sorting.
At the very least, you can opt in to report if you're testing against the current stuff, which goes
Yeah,
into the
but
automation.
that's usually master, so that's going to be potentially unreleased code, which is good. Like that's useful, but it is a different thing than what was tested when this conformance result was pushed to Git versus the current state of the conformance tests.
Oh, they've even disabled their test here. I think it's optional whether they're testing on distribution spec master. And I don't, yeah, OCI distribution
Yeah, it
was
is.
here.
I
So
basically
testing on-
what I'm proposing is that the direction of this arrow be changed and we run the tests.
yeah, like they are running from the master branch on our repo. And so that to me says they're testing a latest grace, which is why they're failing. We probably add some stuff and through some errors. And they
Yeah.
haven't had a chance to update it.
But there's like multiple legs of this matrix that are interesting data, right? It's interesting to know whether or not the latest release of a given registry supports the latest in development commits of the conformance tests and vice versa. Like every permutation of those two combinations is interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's opt-in whether they even give us this link. They don't have to. So if we change that and start saying we're going to test everybody's registry whether you want us to or not, that would be interesting.
And the result being thrown over the wall as a one-off PR that never has to be updated again. That's something.
When they don't update it, at least they say, hey, we only support the 1.0 spec.
Yeah.
Which I feel like
And
someone might want to update this PR right now.
it is interesting to include the how to reproduce so that users can go do this work themselves, but how to reproduce is usually like a run book that we could implement in like GitHub Actions. And so to me, it feels kind of silly that we don't, and we leave that up to users so that any user who's interested in the current state of that registry has to go run the tests themselves.
The one thing I'll say is that this makes a lot of sense if it is a public cloud registry that we can get a free account on. And it makes sense if it is a self-hosted registry, it doesn't take too much for us to spin it up in a CI pipeline.
Yeah.
But if it's a private registry or something that's going to require a paid account, then we're kind of cut off.
Yeah, anything outside those lines, sure. But you would hope we could get this popular enough, big enough, useful enough that people want to be in that list, especially if they've done the work.
Meanwhile, Docker Hub is hiding behind the wall saying, not yet.
Yeah. So Docker Hub doesn't even submit a conformance report, right? Because that would be silly. Why would I self-report that I'm non-conformant? That's like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to self-report to the IRS that I owe them taxes. Wait, that's a bad example.
You better.
Yep.
Well, there goes my weekend. I feel like Docker Hub could come out right now and say we support v1.0 because I think you added the option to delete tags and a few other things that might have been lacking.
Yeah, for sure.
And
It
so
it could be on this list, and it could even say v1.1 minus referrers if the conformance tests were in the state that you want them to be in. Then they would clearly delineate like Docker Hub is mostly conformant. It's just missing X, which I think would be fine. Like it's that transparency is useful. There are people inside Docker Inc. who I explained the current state of Docker Hub's refers to like as recently as last week because it's not well known. And if there were a conformance page, then it would be easier to point to something and say, oh, look, here's the conformance that says it's not supported yet. It would be a safer assumption that it's well known.
I would be a big fan of that. So you're saying I need to code faster, which I have been puttering on it a little bit this week, but not as fast as I need to be.
Well, thank you for indulging my tangent.
I'm always happy to indulge your tangent. Jory, you jumped in here after we already kicked it off a little bit, but we hardly have any agenda at all. So is there anything you'd like to bring up before we cut this thing off in a little bit?
Well, for one, I was very much enjoying Tianan's, crusade about naming and shaming on the conformance side. So thank you. That was entertaining. But on the OCI, on the container plumbing gate days front, no updates. Our agenda is in. It is locked and set. I'm excited to be there for it on the that'll be the 28th. And I hope to see some of you all there too. Or at least maybe I'll carry cardboard cutouts of you there.
You can bring the flat Tianon.
Yes.
just
Just like
the plant.
little images of your avatars from the Zoom also would maybe work. So, that'd be funny. Seems like our fixes to the spam settings have improved. I've seen a decrease in the number of successful spam, emails being sent, so that is great.
You saw me kick the one out just today, didn't you?
Yeah,
Or
yeah, but I noticed that it seems to be
Yeah.
fewer. Yeah.
They've scaled way back since we started blocking a whole bunch of them, and I think not having it as easily visible makes it less appealing. Sorry, cut you off there.
No, that's it. I did get an email I haven't responded to yet from Phil on some stuff for Run C, but I haven't I just got that a couple hours ago. So yeah, nothing else.
Are you
my-
still trying to track down who's got admin access to the HackMD?
Yes, and actually I will be in my response to Phil asking him about that as well, because that is
Is this
still
a
a
nobody knows
mystery.
thing?
This is sort of a nobody knows thing. I'm so sorry.
I wonder if it's VBATs then.
It could be. I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe ask VBATs.
I can potentially see that. So yeah, if it's not Chris and it's not Amy, then my next thought would be VBATs. Which we haven't pestered him in a long while. I hope he's doing well. He might come back and be like, I was wondering when you guys are going to ask me about that. And the alternative option, if we can't find the owners, we could always move it to another HackMD that we do own. Just give everybody a new link and
Yeah, I mean
change
that
this one with a link over to it and say, hey, we're over here now.
I mean that's I think that's I mentioned SPDX had a similar issue a few weeks well, it's been actually a year ago now. But I think they ultimately updated it to a different Etherpad, and that was it.
Thanks for all those updates. Yeah, Rom asking about the multi-hash. Probably waiting on me to finish up some of the conformance rewrites.
Thanks, Miranda.
And
your
Derek asking
OCI
about
digest.
ASCII-Betical. Sorry, finish your point there, Rom. Didn't mean
Oh
to cut
no,
you off.
also your OCI digest. So
Yeah, I think a whole bunch of stuff is all waiting for me to finish up conformance test. And Derek, you're asking the same question I was asking last week. I was like, that's a cute word. I didn't know that was a word. And that's why it's my new word of the week. I learned a new one.
No one ever invented anything, but
I thought it was a new word that Tianon just kind of came up with. And I was like, this is really cool. And I was like crushed when he came out and was just like, no, it's been a word.
I mean, if it is a word, we can point to another definition. I followed the link to the Go strings, and Go strings doesn't even tell you doesn't really tell you how it orders it. It just says in ascending order. So I don't think that there's really clarification. I mean, if there's a good definition of it somewhere, we want to point to it, like I'm not sure about Wikipedia, but or is that's not even Wikipedia, that's
Wiktionary.
or is that part of Wikipedia? Yeah, it is Wikipedia. Okay.
But yeah, it was a word before Tianon came up with it, apparently. I thought he made it up too.
Is it not clear just saying ASCII order?
That's fine. I'm happy to accept alternative wording.
I
I was
mean,
happy to learn a new word.
Feel free to suggest something on the PR and I'm happy to accept it. Like
okay.
I'm not married to this.
I thought there was a long conversation about it and everyone
Nope.
agreed on it. I didn't want to rehash a conversation about it.
No, the conversation was just, did you make this up, Tianan? No, I didn't. Okay.
Well,
That was
and,
the
and
whole
that,
conversation.
that's a little bit of my concern is it's cute, but it's cute in like a distracting way. Like you're gonna read that and then you're gonna forget what you were reading because you're gonna be like, oh wait, that's if you just put the word zebra in the middle of it, people are gonna think about that.
There's an entry for ASCII-Betical in ESR's jargon file. Like it's not a new term even. It's quite old, but I don't care. Like I don't need ASCII-Betical to be in the spec. In fact, I didn't even want to touch the spec, but in trying to fix the conformance test, I found that there was a disparity between reality and the spec, and so I had to touch the spec.
Yeah, to be honest, I
Yeah.
never really thought about lexical and ASCII being different, but
Yeah, I mean,
it makes sense.
The spec even knew that you wouldn't think about that and has a parenthetical of case insensitive, but nobody's implemented that as far as I can see, except maybe the original Docker registry. But even then it was an incidental implementation because S3 did it. And we just returned S3 order.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like this wasn't intentional as far as I can tell. It was just like we were documenting what the API returned. And then once we stopped relying on that API, nobody implemented this in a lexical way.
I mean, I think most of the time there's an assumption that everything is lowercase, and anybody who uses uppercase has like a serious like something loose and just trying to mess with everything. But it's also interesting that Go itself just does not seem to ever make any mention of the fact that strings could be lexical sorted, and there's no utilities to actually do that in the standard library.
Well,
Maybe in the UTF-8
lexical,
library, but like
lexical doesn't define how you handle two things with differing case, does it?
No, but your two options are stable sort or not stable sort.
is that in like the Unicode library? Maybe this is just going down a rabbit hole at this point. Yeah. I was just wondering if there's anything in like the Unicode library to like sort.
I mean, you can see an implementation of it in my test changes. I actually implemented both, and the test allows either. So you can see that sort.slice stable. This is the smallest version I could find of how to implement this in Go.
Gotcha. But you're still doing it. Oh, you're just comparing it as two lower and stable.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Because that's normally how you implement lexical sorting.
Yeah.
But that just guarantees that from your input, you have a consistent output. It doesn't guarantee that if someone else was looking through a similar thing and was sorting it themselves, that they would pick before or after you're pointing that same array.
Right.
Which is why there's like an undefined behavior in there depending on who is doing the sorting.
Correct. And you could update this conditional to handle that edge case better, but since this is the conformance test, I wanted to be more forgiving, especially since the spec has never specified what to do on that edge case. And I didn't want to update the spec to specify what to do on that edge case because I can't find any examples except the one I just wrote a few weeks ago that actually implements lexical sorting for the tag listing. And
I mean,
so I wouldn't know like which one to choose and how to enforce it.
I go looking in repos, and if I see someone that's got the same tag name in lowercase and uppercase, I assume they're just trolling me. And it's probably going to be Tnon's repo.
Yeah, I'll go make some for you.
Was it in this group? Is this one or the Containerd one where we got into a long discussion about whether UTF-8 is whether we should support stuff other than UTF-8 for I think that was for configuration files, but does any of the same thing apply here where if
No.
you're using non-ASCII, do we support non-ASCII characters and tags?
No,
First
we do
off.
not. The tag
Okay.
grammar is extremely
switching.
restrictive.
Okay.
A to Z, upper lower, 09 underscore. And after the first character, dot and a dash.
Okay. Then, yeah, I think just, okay. That's all good then.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking at it going, wait, we support uppercase? Because I never even made uppercase tags. And so I was like you, Derek, like everything has always been lowercase for me.
Yeah, people who create the uppercase are they're after
troublemakers.
something. They're trying to troll the world.
They're just trying to break the conformance test. And I appreciate them for that.
I mean, it just reminds me of what was it, the Surupson log, the log package, Logrus. It was originally like a uppercase S, and it was like a pain to go and change that. I think at some point it was like renamed, and there was upper and lowercase, and depending on where you checked your code out, your Go modules would like mess it up, or you'd have both, and just it creates a headache no matter what. Like always treating upper as lower is a much easier world to live in.
The shift key is just a pain in the butt to press. Just make everything lower. All right, anything else to chat about? Derek, are you gonna submit a request to change on this one? Find a new term other than ASCII-betical?
I was just kind of saying how I felt when I first read it, and I don't think that that link to ghost strings actually cleared anything up for me. At the same time, I'm not somebody who actually cares that much. Like this spec is not written for me. So yeah. I mean, if anything, that example actually does not help at all because it's all
It
uppercase.
really doesn't.
And then even it just says, yeah, increasing order. But then if you went and clicked on even slices that sort, it just says the same thing. It's just
Yeah, I mean, increasing order means just standard Go comparison rules apply. And when you compare a string, it compares all the runes. And when you compare a rune, it's comparing it numerically.
yeah, but then we shouldn't be linking that to the spec because that's assuming that you understand how Go
The
ordering
point of
works.
linking to that in the spec is because that is the most number one popular way to implement this requirement in every registry I've looked at. Because
It's kind of the
most of them
shortcut.
are written in Go and they all use sort.strings, which is why we're even having this conversation, is because sort.strings is not currently today spec compliant, even though that's what almost every registry I look at implements.
Yeah, when we change this and say it's lexical or this other thing, and you say sort.strings is valid, it kind of tells everybody you don't have to worry about it.
I mean, as I say, it's just as I read it, as I saw ASCII-betical and then kind of a link after it. It almost seemed like it was going to explain to me what that meant if that was something unique.
For me, it's just point out here is an implementation of ASCII-betical. Doesn't say what it means, but it says that, hey, that implements it. So you do this, you're good. But yeah, if you've got changes to throw in there, I'm sure Tianon will take it and I'll review it again and get this knocked out.
Well, then um I don't mind using the term ASCII-betical. When it's quoted, it makes it sound like it's almost a sarcastic or cutesy thing though. Is that just me reading too much into it?
It's quoted because it's not a word that you could pull up Webster's off your desk and find, but it is a word that is in common usage. I'm happy to drop the quotes if that helps. I'm happy to drop the betical if that helps. Like I really don't care about including this word. It was just a word that fit, that means the right thing.
Yeah, well, I'll just LGTM it because I actually don't really care that much. And if people come and ask questions, then we can change it.
If they ask questions, do it, get blamed, you send them all to Tianon.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just, yeah, get blamed.
Anything else for today's agenda?
On the proxy namespace one, what are we waiting for on that one?
On that one, we're
We-
waiting for reviews. So I put that up as, hey, folks need to review this thing.
But do we want, I guess, which reviews do we want to like?
A maintainer.
I mean, well, do I need to actually LGTM it after you updated it? You pushed a change, you LGTM'd it. I can put an
I
approval on
dismissed-
it, but
Yeah, I dismissed Jimmy's. We only have one approval on it right now.
I mean, I can, well, do we even allow
You-
that?
you can't self.
Self-approve? Okay.
You can't self. But curiously, I can change it and I can approve it.
Matt.
Who makes these rules?
Yeah, I saw that in another PR. Somebody updated my PR and then I went to approve it. And it's like, nope, sorry. Like, oh, that's interesting.
Who makes these rules? Yeah, I question
Well,
them as
don't we
well.
set those rules up somewhere? Like,
I mean, we set up that it needs 2 reviews, but we can't say that you can't self-review.
really? Is that a new thing in GitHub? Because
I
I
think
feel
that's
like
just built in. That's been built into
That's
GitHub as
always
long
been
as
built
I've
in?
known, but I don't have as much background as other
Uh,
people.
no, I probably never actually. No, I've never actually tried to approve my own PR. That just sounds a little bit.
I would
like a
have
jackass
double the
thing to do.
reviews if I did because I'll review all of my own PRs just for fun. But yeah, we need a maintainer over here, so maybe Steve-O, maybe John. I was hoping we could get Mike to review it.
Do I need to
Oh, yeah.
update that list? I mean I mean it's
It's-
been open for so
it's-
long that list
it's a little
itself has
stale.
changed. Yeah.
Yeah, that list's a little stale. This list has been going on for a while from all the people commenting on it.
Yeah. I guess at the time I guess we still don't have like a set number for spec changes. What's a threshold for getting stuff in?
Lately, we just say 2, and then the point that it really matters is when we try to cut a tag, and that's when everybody really finally checks in and looks at all the stuff they haven't been taking time to review.
Yeah. All right, that sounds doable enough.
It's
one
hard enough
day
to get
Mike's
2
not
for these
here.
little things, yeah.
Where is Mike? Mike's always here, I thought.
Mike sometimes joins in around the halfway point, but doesn't look like he did that today. Depends on his other meetings. But yeah, I put that one in the needs review. The conformance tag order that you were just working on needs review, and then we were chatting about tag listing a little bit. So these 2 would be good to get in there, and so I would like to see that one. Considering how old it is, it would be awesome if this got merged. And then I need to update some of my own implementations, make sure I work with it myself.
So there was need to look out. There was a Kubernetes issue linked at the bottom, or I guess backlinked, forward linked.
Folks are hoping this will get merged so they can use it.
It was unclear.
I feel like it's been linked a bunch though, considering how long it's been out.
Yeah. Some of those cases where like, well, I guess it should mostly be fine, but when you just do like a normal HTTP proxy that's completely unaware of the that you're proxying a registry or something like that, or if it's acting completely transparently, then you can't really use that for multiple registries because, well, I guess you could use the host name in that regard.
Say the problem one more time for me.
No, I was just trying to think of some of the different configurations people might be trying to do this in, where they're using like a local proxy cache or something for handling it. But I think the case we defined for the registries is this namespace is only needed when the host parameter does not match the content you're trying to get. If it matches, it's fine. So if you're using an HTTP or like a lower level proxy, it should work fine because the host is different at that point. Like you'll be able to use the host HTTP variable to figure out who you're actually talking to. But in the case where you're trying to mirror it and
Does
the
the
host
client know
name
that, though?
doesn't.
Because the client just knows that I've defined when I'm trying to pull from registry A, go to proxy A. I query proxy A, and I'm going to say proxy A, give me /repo
Well, I'm saying
XYZ.
in that case, the client doesn't really know there's a proxy, or I mean, it could, but it's like in the environment or it's somewhere.
It's configured.
It's configured, but it's not necessarily visible to the client directly. Right. So like the case we're trying to solve here is where we're trying to say like, okay, we're gonna go and fetch from 3 different endpoints or something. You could do all that transparently to the client and have a proxy basically set up an HTTP proxy. So the host parameter doesn't change, but the proxy underneath it is talking to various different sources.
If you do it transparently to the client, then you've got man-in-the-middle TLS, which that just depends on whether or not you have your own root key or injecting there.
Yeah. I mean, that's
or it's an HTTPS proxy. You know, regular HTTP proxy is doing HTTPS, and that in that case it's HTTP, and then it gets up converted to HTTPS on the proxy itself.
yeah. Well, yeah, my point is that if you're only talking about kind of if you're talking about proxying at that level, this doesn't really have too much relevance. It's more so that the client can know what mirrors it's trying to talk to and differentiate the behavior between the mirrors. So like you don't have to trust, if you're only getting content by digest, you can have less trust in where you get that content from, since you're going to verify it. Doesn't necessarily even have to be from a trusted source, but when you're actually going to resolve the tag, like that's a little bit different. Like that's where man in the middle can actually have an effect.
So it's kind of the reason for my one request there is so that I can implement this at the client side with differing trust based on whether or not the registry tells me that it's really supporting that thing I'm hoping it's supporting.
Yeah.
The proxy. Because there are a few cases where I want to change that trust level. Precisely the ones you're mentioning.
Yeah, but in the case where like, yeah, I guess it depends, because if say you're only getting the tag resolution from the source, then most of the time you wouldn't even use the namespace parameter at all, because the host name is the same as what you're trying to get.
That's a big if. I might still want to do tag resolution to the proxy, but only if I know the proxy is a well-behaved proxy that I put some trust on that proxy. And so there's going to be some kind of threshold in there where I can decide whether or not I want to trust that proxy for that scenario.
Yeah, makes sense.
And the header is going to be one of those variables I'm going to put in that calculation.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess you want that case more to handle the mistaken configuration rather than
Yep.
a man in the middle style.
It's
Lack of trust.
the case I'm thinking of is that I foresee people wanting to set one proxy setting one time and that's it. And I'm expecting that someone is going to implement a pull-through proxy that proxies a whole bunch of repos, mirrors, probably manually mirrors in their case, a whole bunch of repos, but not every repo. And so it'll look like it's working for 99% of the time, and then it's just that 1% of the time when it's not working. I want to make sure that, hey, we're falling back in a good way.
Yeah, makes sense.
I'm sorry if the Thunder Gods are bleeding through on this. Cool. Anything else folks want to chat about today? It took a one-line meeting that I thought we were going to finish in 5 minutes, and I'll jump off and run along into almost 50-minute meeting here. So that's impressive.
You guys are very good at nerd sniping each other.
We're also very good at dragging out PRs to last for like months and months, or in this case, how long has this been going on? 2019, was it? July 25th of 2019. That's 6 years now. That's an impressively long time to drag a PR out.
And that's probably when we added it to Containerd.
You've got the merged link in there. Where was that?
Yeah, that was
So
like
I saw
since
that.
Containerd 1.3 or something.
Containerd cry and Containerd 4413 back in 2020. So you took almost a year. That's a respectable amount of time to wait for the spec to get off their butts and merge something.
I think it went through a few iterations too.
Gonna drop my share before the storm here knocks it out for me. Last call for anything else folks want to chat about today. Going once, going twice. All right. Let's break for the weekend. Great chatting with everybody. Have another nice weekend if the weather's good in your area. It's gonna be good on the East Coast here, other than whatever's going off on top of my head right now. And look forward to seeing you next week. Cheers.
Bye.